Your comments make the show better. Send us your thoughts live on our Facebook channel to be the star of today's show. Can't catch us live? Hit us up on our other social media channels to have your say. For now, welcome to the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, good morning, Canada. Canadian sports fans around the world, welcome to the Rod Pedersen Show.
Welcome back.
Daddy's home. Episode number 113 of your favorite sports talk show here on Facebook Live. I kind of left my opening segment here blank. I'm Rod Pedersen. He's Darren DuPont. So off the top of my head, if he's Ron, I'm Don.
Yeah, that's fitting.
Too soon? Too soon? Listen, we're going to be talking a lot of CFL all week long and a lot of CFL today, but we're going to open the rollout for Flooring Superstore with Don Cherry Talk, obviously, for the next 15 to 20 minutes or so, and we welcome people chiming in on the Facebook wall, Prairie Mobile text line, and all the rest. Prairie Mobile, your authorized SaskTel mobility dealer. It's going to be a fantastic show. As my brother pointed out to me this morning, it's been 10 days since I've been on the air. I feel that he's missed me. So, good morning, Lee. Thanks for tuning in.
Is that the only way you guys keep in touch? Through the Facebook comments of the
show? Yeah. On the show today, Marshall Legs Hamilton. He'll have his thoughts, of course, on the CFL semifinal weekend. Upset Sunday, as I'm tabbing it. Also coming up on the program today, CFL veteran Jeff Knox Jr., former NHLer and Maple Leaf Brian Berard. Courageous story of he. And he's got a new story out new book out, written by our good friend Jim Lang, co-authored by our good friend Jim Lang. Brian Berard will be with us. And from Football Canada, Canada West Television, the great Jim Mullen. Number 13s, of course, recognizing number 13s because of episode number 113. The first one that came to mind to me was Anthony Calvillo.
Yep, absolutely.
And for me, you could probably stop there, but one popped to mind?
Yeah, Matt Sundin. He was my guy growing up.
I'll write it down.
That was my kid. I got an old binder, Matt Sundin.
Timo Solani was 13, was he not?
Yep. He wore 13 for a while.
Yeah, Winnipeg. So there's some good ones. And I also want to get into the Hardy Cup, of course. Calgary Dinos taking it over the Saskatchewan Huskies. Congrats, Dinos. Big fans of the show. They've sent us all these gifts. So they got the Mitchell Bowl this weekend, right?
Yes.
And they got Mac coming in there.
Yep.
And the only reason I know that is my friend Darren Burns, who I met at Touchdown Atlantic, CFL alum. He's from Moncton. His kid plays on Mac, and he's been on. I've got all these Mac updates all year on my Facebook because his kid plays on the team, which is great.
Yeah.
And you're going back. You were on the broadcast of the Hardy Cup, and now you're going back for the Mitchell Bowl.
Be back in Calgary for the Mitchell Bowl.
That's awesome.
And it was great because we had Marshall Ferguson on the air last week, early in the week when Abu was in here. Abu's a Western alum. Ferguson's a McMaster alum. So they went back and forth, and McMaster took it.
We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the ice problems at the Brand Center Friday night, which cost the game. On that, Pat's good friends of mine. The ice workers at the Brand Center, good friends of mine. The Everest Place people, good friends of mine. So I'm not going to go down the road. Embarrassing for all involved, just an ugly incident. Mm-hmm. And you saw the Twitter reaction to that. Never before heard of this happening before. I don't think it has happened before.
Yeah, I don't know.
So hopefully that gets fixed and they moved on, but that's a sports story that hasn't been talked about because this show hasn't been on the air since Friday. Watching the Facebook wall here, holy man, it's going crazy.
Yeah.
Shelley Legault writes in and says, good morning from rainy Texas. Hi, Shelley. How are you? I missed her, I think, when I was down in Texas.
Wasn't raining when you were there?
It was the last couple of days, but I still had a good time. Hook 'em horns. You saw my tour of the University of Texas?
I did. How cool was that?
Wow. Wow. All CFL teams should go to schools like Texas and have a look at their facilities. And you wonder why some of these guys come from those schools to some rinky-dink CFL stadiums and think that they're not in the big time. You would get it.
Yeah, big time.
And we will get to the CFL talk, as I said. But first, the thoughts on Don Cherry. We got to go there because I think that's what a lot of people have tuned in for this morning, plus the CFL talk. But I did not see Hockey Night in Canada Saturday night. I was traveling home from Austin, Texas. But so Sunday morning I get up and all of a sudden, boom, Twitter's exploding with what Cherry said the night before. So I click on it, I watch it, and I'm like, he's gone. He'll be gone. And that was over a day before it happened. Reason being, the business has changed. And it's now time in the world that you can't get away with those things. And I'm going to explain how things have changed. I think people are shocked that I'm not on this huge Don Cherry bandwagon like our friend Joe in New York, who's on this campaign. You know, all these people are up. I stand with Don. You see the hashtags going around. Totally fine. Free choice, free will. We're coming out of Remembrance Day weekend. All these men and women lost their lives in war and fought at war. Those that haven't lost their lives so that you can do these things. Say what you want. You're still going to pay for things that you say, unfortunately. That comes along with free speech. But with Don Cherry, my family will attest to this. Growing up, there was no bigger fan of Don Cherry. Read all his books. Easy Christmas gift for my parents. Get Rod Rock'em Sock'em, the latest Rock'em Sock'em video. He'll be happy. Get him pajamas. Get him, I'd go eat at his restaurants. Like, I love Don Cherry. And at my old station, we would carry Don Cherry's Grape Line. I think it was one of the original stations that did for 30-some years. I just loved Don Cherry. As time went on, tried to get him on my old show. Couldn't get to Don Cherry. I would have really liked to have had him on the air. Just couldn't get to him. I know that with the Pats, we tried to bring him in to speak a couple of times. Couldn't get to Don Cherry. Like, he's very hard to get to. And I kind of just, over time, he's 85. If he had gone away and retired 20 years ago, well, for sure 10, I probably would have been okay with that. And it kind of finished me last year when he said the Carolina Hurricanes were a bunch of jerks because of their post-game antics after a home win. That upset me, because it's like, we're in the entertainment business. These are good guys having fun. What the hell's wrong with that? That kind of finished me there. And then just a couple of weeks ago at the Heritage Classic, there was a big sponsors event the night before the game, and I got this invitation that said Ron and Don are going to be there. And I'm thinking, okay, finally going to get a chance to meet Don Cherry. Go to the event. Who's there? Ron McLean, Brian Burke, Jim Houston, Kelly Rudy, Elliot Friedman, all these guys. No Don Cherry. And Ron McLean gets up at the front of the room and says, folks, Don's not with us. He went to bed. He's tired. So filling the role of the cranky old guy tonight is Brian Burke. And everybody laughed, and Burke just kind of gave one of these. And I just thought, you know what? Don's checked out. He's checked out. This is a sponsors event that you should go to. You're the highest paid broadcaster in Canadian sports and have been for 20 to 25 years. Yep. You got to do these things. But he was above it. And I'm over Don Cherry, is my point. So when this happened, you bring immigrants into things. And somebody said to me this morning, he didn't say immigrants. Stop. The implication is that he did. He lost his job because of it. So to split hairs about what he said, it doesn't matter anymore. And I used to set my VCR for Saturday night to watch Coach's Corner. I would never miss it. That's how big of a fan I was. Hey, my real rant's coming, Clark. Hang on. Just hang on for Bronco Plumbing and Heating. So it's sad that it went this way. Don was given the opportunity many years ago to change, refused. He's anti-immigrant. Clearly, because he's not going to apologize because of this. And frankly, 10 years ago, I might have been standing with Joe Lazito leading the parade. I'd have been the marshal of the parade to save Don Cherry here. 10 years ago, I wasn't a big fan of immigrants, and I was not pro-refugee. But you know what? Somebody sat me down and said, Rod, this is why we need to do this. This is why this is good for Canada. I thought, okay, I'm on board. Right?
Yeah.
And then I kind of looked at it and said, if it wasn't for immigrants, none of us would be here. I darn sure know I wouldn't have my wife. When the Greeks and Italians moved to this city in the 50s and 60s, what do you think that people thought of them? They looked different. They talked different. They sounded different. It's no different now, 60 years later. So I am not anti-immigrant. So when Don went down that road, that's why I said, it's over. He's gone. So when the notification came across my phone from John Shannon, by the way, on Twitter, it wasn't a surprise.
No.
So how about you?
Yeah, it's tough because it's somebody you grew up watching and you loved watching, and it made you. It's just he's a part of that product that made us all fall in love with the game, and so when that dies, we see what we grew up, watching in our childhood. A piece of that is dying, but it was going to happen eventually. I mean, like you said, he's 85 years old. He was going to be off the air anyway. And for the people who like Don Cherry, isn't this kind of the way you want him to go out?
It's him.
You kind of want him
to go
out
his way.
Yeah, going out his way.
I did it my way.
Exactly. Standing up for what he believes in, right? Yep. And the thing for me, the only part that drives me a little bit insane, but it doesn't really drive me insane, but and something, a way I try and operate, we're too focused on the specific words that come out of people's mouths, and we forget the message and what they're actually trying to say. The message Don was trying to deliver was a really good one. He's trying to support the military, support the veterans, support the troops. And I think the issue is that people aren't wearing their poppies. And he feels very passionate about that. And they're not buying poppies. So the Legion, in their biggest fundraiser of the year, is not getting the money. And he sees that dying. And he doesn't see that living on. And that's what he's trying to wake people up to. He did it in the wrong way. He said the wrong things, and he shouldn't have said those things. They're right in letting him go. But that's the part that gets me a little bit, is that we tend to not take into account what the message actually is.
Well, and it sounded to me like they offered him the opportunity to apologize, and he didn't want to apologize. He said, I meant what I said.
Yeah.
Now, here's how things have changed in this business, and that's why I knew that Cherry was going to be gone. The quote that everybody's clinging to in the last 24 hours is he said, I'm not a robot. Basically, if I can't be me, I don't want to be on the air.
Yeah.
And there was a time that sports teams were run by sports people and broadcast outlets were run by broadcasters. And over the last 10 to 15 years, and some were doing it 20 years ago, that changed. Business people are running sports teams. Business people are running broadcast outlets. And yeah, they're making gobs and gobs and gobs of money, but in my opinion, they're ruining it. And I would suggest that the ticket sales and the merchandise sales that are lagging and the viewership that's down is proof of that. Not every team's like that. I mean, talk about the Saskatchewan Rush. I bring them up all the time. Ironically, our newest sponsor, by the way. But the Saskatchewan Rush are a team that is still run by sports people, and we know them. Bruce and Cindy Urban and their son, Brandon. For them, like, the connection with the fans is still there. They give back to the fans because they're sports people. Mm-hmm. Every season ticket holder for the Rush this year gets a jersey, a commemorative jersey. Last year, they had Farmer Appreciation Night at a Rush game. I know, I was there. They wore commemorative jerseys with a John Deere tractor on the shoulder. Like, that is knowing your fans, right? And the people that work for the Rush would walk through fire for the Urban family. I know it because I know those people. They've told me. So not every team is that way, but the connection with the fans and the viewers are gone. And how this relates to Don Cherry, in my opinion, is that this is why he was hired. People couldn't wait to tune in to see what he was going to say next because nobody knew. It's like Paul tells me all the time, crank it up more. And we'll get into that later. There was a guy like Paul Drouin telling Don Cherry 35 years ago, just go on there and let her rip. And everybody loved it. But the people like that aren't running these companies anymore. They're the business people that, you can't offend this guy, you can't offend that person, it's bad for business. Well, that's where Cherry's saying, if I can't be myself, it's not fun anymore. And that's how it's all changed.
Yeah, completely. They got a very delicate situation. I mean, it's this delicate situation that they have to navigate through now. What are they going to do?
Well, the next one, I say it's Brian Burke, and you say that would be a bad decision.
I think it would be a bad decision. I mean, here's the thing that Don Cherry did, and whether the game has passed him by, and you know, his analysis of, you know, the game maybe isn't the most accurate, and you're not taking that too seriously. But what he did is he really, you know, showcased the game, the players, the personalities, all of those things. And those things are what made Hockey Night in Canada special. You know, the guys getting off the bus. He talks about the players when he goes into the personalities, the stuff happening between the whistles. He goes in, you know, he tells all those stories within the game. And people watch the game. They show up to watch the games. And I know everybody that's in the comments, and I've seen this all over Twitter. Oh, I don't even watch the pregame. We show up to watch the games. Forget about that stuff. Well, yeah, but you show up to watch the games because of that stuff. That stuff makes you more aware of the players. It makes you fall in love with the game and the stories around it, and that makes you want to watch the game. If you don't know who's playing or anything about them, you're not really going to care to watch the games. So that's so key. But when they want to replace him now, because Budweiser's a big sponsor, right, of Coach's Corner, they're not going to stop, you know, Sportsnet's not going to not cash their check anymore. But if you try and replace Don Cherry with somebody who's trying to be Don Cherry, they're going to fail because they won't be Don Cherry.
I vote for Berkey. I know Berkey. I like Berkey. I think he's ready to do it. He's in his early to mid 60s, though. Is he going to do it for the next 20 years? I don't know. We can talk about Berkey later and where he is at in his career. I think he would be great. I think he'd like to do it. But that's maybe a theme that we'll have throughout the show. So here's the hook to keep you through the opening commercial break, okay? Today's poll question, because we're going to spend the rest of the show on the CFL, because that's where our bread is buttered. The Capital Auto Mall Universal Collision Center poll question is the Stampeders losing out a good or bad thing for the Grey Cup / CFL? Because I was talking to Calgary football people yesterday. Clearly, they're devastated. They don't know how this happened. And I said, is this going to hurt the Grey Cup? And they said, don't know yet. Too hard to say.
No.
Too early to say. Our poll respondents, what do you think the split is right now? And how would you vote?
Because
I would have thought it'd be 50-50. Is the Stampeders losing out a good thing or a bad thing for the Calgary Grey Cup in the CFL?
I'm going to vote good thing. And what
is this a yes or no thing?
I know. I think it's a good thing. What do I think the people responded? Because it's sometimes different. I think they're going to say it's a good thing too.
97% say it's a great thing that the Stampeders have lost out.
Yeah.
So we'll kick that around. Marshall Hamilton will join us next. We'll talk about the return of Zach Caleros. Were the Winnipeg Blue Bombers lying about the broken foot of Chris Streveler? Because it certainly looks that way. It looked that way when he was rushing for 82 yards.
Didn't look broken.
Are the Eskimos going to the Grey Cup? That's what a lot of people are predicting.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.